The Undercountry Music News is an excerpt of the weekly internet broadcast Undercountry Music, which features music from great country artists you won't hear on mainstream radio, as well as a roundup of the most interesting country music news of the week without all the fluff. This program you're listening to right now contains only the news portion of the show. To listen and subscribe to the full weekly episode containing the music and interviews, please visit undercountrymusic.com or simply subscribe to the Undercountry Music Podcast on iTunes. Let's get into it. But enough of that, because it's time for the Undercountry Music News! That's right, baby. I'm rared up and ready to bring you the news at full throttle. I don't even know how to bring it full throttle. I just put my foot to the floor. I don't ride motorcycles, so, I don't even know. I don't get that whole shifting the gears with your foot thing. You know? That's just like totally weird. But anyway, the Undercountry Music News, that's where your sexy-ass show host, Neil Smith here on Undercountry Music, I grope my way through the crowded country music news field on the front page of Google. That's right. I go to Google. I type in country music news, and whatever nubile websites show up on the front page, I grope them. I prod them like a sleazy guy in a trench coat in a crowded bus. That's right, you know what I'm talking about, right? Okay, so anyway, and I look to see who's got the goods. Now, most of these places, their news rolls are mainly filled with garbage and press releases, like, who's remembering Elvis Presley this week? Just junk like that, Everybody remembers Elvis Presley. You don't need a story about some country artist remembering Elvis Presley who really has nothing to say. And that's what about 9/10 of these news rolls are. So what I do is I go onto each one of them. I find the actual news nugget, and I pick it, and I stick it onto my big old ball of other news nuggets from all the other websites. I get the one news nugget here, the one news nugget there, and then I make it all into a big nugget ball, and then I flick it at you. Yeah, and that's the Undercountry Music News. Oh, by the way, if I find a website that's not doing their job and not reporting any country music news, and it's completely garbage, I award that one website each and every week with the dreaded Undercountry Music News Wet Belch of the Week.
Would you like to play a game?
Why, yes, Hal 2000. Let's.
How about thermonuclear war?
How about the Undercountry Music News instead?
Your funeral.
Here we go. Let's get into it. Over at CMT, grope, yeah! Tim McGraw was singing his really stupid-ass song, Truck Yeah, in Atlanta, out on the catwalk of his stage. Yeah, his stage has a catwalk. When some crazy lady grabbed him and wouldn't let go, and also ripped his pants. And Tim swatted this nutcase off his nutcase, and security escorted her out. And it was all caught on video. Now, of course, this being the age of dishonest spin, what do you think the original video that was released about this showed? That's right. Tim McGraw slapping at a fan and absolutely nothing else. The headlines over this past week were, Tim McGraw slaps fan. Well, CMT has the full video of what happened, and it totally jives with the report from Tim McGraw's camp. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that a little later, but right now, we're going to head over to Country Weekly and see what they got for us. Well, the first thing I can say is that Country Weekly must be trying to drive people away from their weak website with a pitchfork, because as I was on the country music news page for Country Weekly, ads kept repeatedly playing audibly from the news page. Right? I'm looking for country music news, and out of nowhere, I'm hearing a wiener commercial. And I can't figure out where the heck it's coming from. And it's really distracting, and I can't concentrate on what I'm trying to read. I mean, I have no problem with them generating revenue. They have to. That's how they can do what they do. No problem with them selling ad space. But you know what? There's a right way that will draw people in who would be interested in what the advertiser has to offer. And there's a wrong way that grates on your guests and drives them away, and therefore provides no benefit to anyone. Not the advertiser, not the website, and certainly not the people the advertisers are targeting. If you drive them away, they don't hear your ad. And it also hurts the other advertisers that were doing it the right way that just got driven away. And the people got driven away from ads that may have been of interest to them. But anyway, that was my first impression over there. But they have a story which saves them from the wet belch. And the story is that Keith Urban has a hologram of himself touring and performing throughout Australia right now. And Country Weekly has a video of it. It's actually pretty cool. You remember it being done with Michael Jackson recently, and also Tupac Shakur about a year or two ago? Where they have the hologram of the performer on the stage. And so far, it's only been done with dead people. As far as I know, this is the first guy that's still alive. Now, I'm really looking forward to this technology going forward so that I can maybe go see concerts by other artists that aren't with us anymore, like a full concert by Elvis. Wouldn't that be cool to go see an Elvis concert? And like his original, his backing band still performs. So, I mean, wouldn't that be cool to go see Elvis's backing band and a hologram of Elvis doing his thing? Or Frank Sinatra, Jimi Hendrix, Hank Williams Sr., they can colorize things now. I mean, how cool would that be? Now, it's not the same as seeing these people perform in person, of course, but it could be a whole lot cheaper than a live concert where you have to pay some doped up rock star. And, and it would give people an experience they otherwise would never have had. I'm liking this a lot. Well, over at Country Weekly, they are announcing that Garth Brooks' comeback tour will now kick off September 4th in Chicago at Allstate Arena. Well, that's okay. That's, of moderate interest. But the more interesting aspect of this announcement was how it was done. You see, several months ago, a fan at one of Garth's Vegas shows asked Garth a question. Apparently, he had a Q&A portion to his show where the audience got to ask him stuff. And this fan asked where he would be starting his world tour, to which Garth replied, "Well, if it means that much to you, leave your phone number. You'll be the first guy to know when I know." And so Garth collected the guy's phone number, and being true to his word, Andy Roberts, who asked the question initially, was the first person to be called by Garth Brooks to know about when the tour would kick off. And he got to announce it to the world. Now, how freaking cool is that? I gotta tell you, that's really cool. I need a drink of water here. I'm getting cotton mouth. All right, over at Taste of Country, you can watch some good but low-budget video of some new songs from the trio Puss in Boots. It's like an Americana alt-country type of thing that includes Norah Jones on guitar and fiddle. And I must say, it's a trio of ladies, and they're pretty damn good. Apparently, this trio formed because Norah Jones wanted to learn how to play guitar. So in 2008, she rounded up some ladies and started playing pool halls for practice. I mean, Norah Jones is already a star, so I mean, you have to admit, that's pretty cool too. We got a pretty cool news roll here with some awesome stuff going on, okay? By the way, these ladies, like I said, they're pretty darn good, and I highly encourage you to get over to Taste of Country and check them out. Now, there is another story over at Taste of Country, and the story is that friends of Randy Travis, who is recovering from a stroke and a heart attack, which he suffered last year, are very positive about his recovery. Good reason to be positive. He's up and about, he's attending shows, things like that. And well, some of them are predicting he'll be able to start performing again by early next year. Well, that sounds like great news, but I gotta admit, I'm kind of skeptical on this one because while he is up and about and he's actually looking pretty good, he still can't speak, and next year is only about 5 months away. Now, I love Randy Travis. I mean, he was a great performer, but nobody wants to hear Randy is reported to currently have the ability to hum, though. And the story later goes on to state an opinion from an actual therapist. Doesn't say what kind of therapist. But they put the potential for Mr. Travis' recovery at about 3 years. But they don't say, they say he very well could fully recover and get out and perform again. So that's good news. But they give him more like 3 years, which does sound a little more realistic to me. And Godspeed to you there, Mr. Travis. Over at GAC, Great American Country, Kellie Pickler is set to make her film debut as the voice of a sweet potato. In the upcoming VeggieTales movie, Beauty and the Beet, she will play Mirabelle, a yam who is in a family band. She will also be singing 7 songs on the movie's soundtrack. This movie is going to be released direct to DVD on October 14th. Apparently going straight to video. That's too bad. I would love to see the VeggieTales on the big screen. Also, over at GAC, they have a story about a couple of teenage girls who have jumped onto the newly formed anti-bro country bandwagon with a song called Girl in a Country Song. And this is a song where they cut up and call out lots of pretty sexist lines from all this crappy bro country polluting the airwaves these days, and pretty much demanding some respect, which they do deserve, in my opinion. The only problem I'm having here is that there is tons of press about this song, and the tons of press have been going on for like over a month. Like, the lyrics have been out, but the song itself is almost impossible to find and listen to. Well, I finally found it, the full-on recording. And you can find it too. I found it on Spotify. It might be some other places, but I couldn't find it. I did a Google search for it, and the only place I could find it was Spotify. You know, this song, it has a modern, radio-friendly sound, which doesn't really interest me at all. But the arrangement is really good, and so is the stuff they're saying in it. So, in light of that, I'm going to give this, and the fact that both the girls that are doing the singing, they're both teenagers. So, I got to give it a solid B-. Moving right along, we're going to check in with theboot.com. Tim McGraw speaks out about the slapping incident for when he slapped the lady who grabbed him on the catwalk, which I discussed earlier. With the typical wording, he used all those, non-committal wordings that people always say when they don't want to get in trouble with their lawyers or anyone else's lawyers. Things like unfortunate incident, blah, 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 blah. I will say that the video the Boot has of this is definitely a lot better than the video that CMT had of it. It's a lot clearer, and you can really see just about everything that goes on. And to me, it looks as if the lady grabbed his back pocket and ripped it while he was walking away. I'm just saying that's what it looked like to me. And then, Tim McGraw turns around and he belts her one. Did McGraw overreact? Possibly. Now that I have seen how severely he appears to have smacked this lady up, it looks like he whacked her pretty good. Now, did she have it coming? I have to say, even more possibly. This lady had no right grabbing the guy like that, and especially ripping his pants. I mean, that's completely uncalled for. And he reacted in the heat of the moment, and she got a message delivered upside her head that she probably needed to receive. And I'm betting that she won't make that mistake again. And I'm really happy that no legalisms have come against McGraw yet. Even though I don't think he was entirely innocent in this thing. I think he actually did go a little over the line there in his response. But whatever, we're all human. All right, gonna check in with Nashville Gab now. Kristian Bush, the, Jennifer Nettles' sidekick in Sugarland, he has made his solo debut at the Grand Ole Opry, hot on the heels of his new single release, Trailer Hitch. And that's about all Nashville Gab has going on this week. Moving along to the 615, which a subsection of Billboard.com. There's a story on here asking the question, does Garth Brooks still have country superstar clout? Which is a pretty damn stupid question, if you ask me. I think the answer is fairly obvious. But this story does ask one interesting question, which is if radio will play his new music. I'm going to say that from what I've seen out of mainstream country radio, that one could be anyone's call because, they're really not playing artists from the 90s anymore. Even the ones that put out new stuff, they stick them in the has-been pile. But Garth's got a whole, he's a mega star. So I'm thinking this could be either way. It really could. And one senior label executive who has been left anonymous in this story is quoted as saying, quote unquote, I don't know if he can do it anymore. Radio will play him in the beginning because it won't want to miss out on the promotions for the show tickets. But will that radio play sustain? I gotta tell you, I think that's a fair question. Another interesting tidbit revealed in this story is that the digital downloads for his upcoming new album are not going to be available on iTunes. Garth has never sold his music on iTunes and refuses to do so. Instead, his new album's digital downloads will be exclusively available only on the Garth Brooks official website, and that's it. Do you need some major freaking clout in this day and age to give iTunes the cold shoulder and pull an album promotion, a comeback album promotion off like this? I gotta say so, which I guess does bring us full circle back to the title of this article asking, does Garth Brooks still have superstar clout? Now, obviously, as I said before, the answer is yes. But I think the real question is, does he have the absolutely enormous amount of superstar clout that it will take to be the one and only exclusive outlet for the digital downloads of the new album and have a successful outcome? And successful by Garth Brooks standards. I think that's a very fair question to be asking, and I will be very, very interested to see what happens. Also over at the 615, Dolly Parton is planning a gay-themed dance album with the main track titled Just a Wee Bit Gay. I put my pinky up when I said that. Now, Dolly has been a gay rights supporter for a very long time, and her shows are frequented by drag queen lookalikes of her. And I gotta tell you, I went to see her a few years back, and that was a real fun part of the show. And she calls out all the drag queens to stand up and strut their dolly. And, I gotta tell you, that was kind of fun. Over at Nashville.com. Nashville.com is definitely coming up in the world. Over a month now, they've made it onto the front page of Google for country music news. Nicely done, people. And the big story I found over there is Waymore's Outlaws, which is Waylon Jennings' backing band, of course, before he died, is going on tour with Shooter Jennings and will be his backing band while he sings his dad's hits, followed by an acoustic set of his own material, and then the band rejoins him on stage to back him as a full band on more of his own songs. So keep a lookout, because the Silver Eagle just may be rolling back to your town soon. Over at Country Standard Time, Cowboy Jack Clement's final album. I don't know. I have a hard time calling a dead guy's new release a final album, because they'll probably dig up some more songs from him at some point and repackage them and send them out and claim that these were just uncovered in the archives. Nobody knew they existed, which is total BS. Anyway, the new Cowboy Jack Clement album is out and is entitled For Once and For All, pretty appropriately. And it includes collaborations with John Prine, Emmylou Harris, Bobby Bare, Vince Gill, Marty Stewart, Rodney Crowell, and Dierks Bentley. You know, they always do these kind of albums with all these guests when they think they're about to die. And apparently that was the case here. I mean, all these people, these are the same people who always show up on dead people's albums, aren't they? Anyway, it's out, and you can get it somewhere at some price. I really don't know. And Lucinda Williams has just announced a double album, entitled Down Where the Spirit Meets the Bone, which is going to drop on September 30th. I certainly hope it's better than her live show. I saw her maybe 10 years back, open for George Jones, and George was barely holding it together himself at that time. And Lucinda basically put an entire auditorium to sleep with really downbeat songs before George came out. In case you were wondering, that's not a good thing. Your job is to get people livened up before the headliner comes out. That's why you're called a warm-up act! And this has been your Country Music News. All right, bye-bye talk show formats. Thanks for joining me. And for the rest of you, we're going to get into some more music now. Thank you for listening to the Undercountry Music News. The Undercountry Music News is just a small excerpt of the weekly hour-long internet broadcast Undercountry Music, where I, Neil Smith, not only round up the week in country music news and put my own spin on it, but I also play music and have great interviews by lesser-known original country acts, the kind that you won't hear on mainstream country radio. If you're thirsting for that, get on over to undercountrymusic.com where you can listen and subscribe. You can also subscribe via iTunes to Undercountry Music. Thanks so much. Stay under, stay country.